3, 2, 1. It seems to be moving along. Seems to be moving along. Wait, no. Yeah, here we go. Jump back. Hey, look at that. Looks like we're live again. Streaming, sending data, streaming, sending data. Okay, now it's all up and running. You know what? I'm not gonna do a show. That's it. I've just decided. Fuck it. I mean, why bother at this point? All the trouble I go through trying to make this thing fly, and that I start off with a really good, what I think is sort of a somewhere between a lecture and a TED talk on the value of standing by your values. Actually, if you value that in any way. Nah, screw it. I'll do a show. Welcome to Al Sparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Let's just pretend we started right now. Shit. I'll just throw in we'll do the launch page again. I'll throw in some music or something like that. We'll, what do we throw in for theme song? We'll do this one.
Turn up the radio, let the sparks ignite.
Know what I'm talking about?
Sparks lead the charge day and night.
You damn straight. Okay, so there we go.
Got my swag on low. I'm a diaper superstar. Listen up the schedule, taking it too far.
That's right. Or we could probably just do this for JD Vance theme song.
I love that feeling. Super hoods have got the goods. Owie, owie, oh. Butts and thongs and vests and thongs. Whoa, I love that feeling. Super hoods have got the goods. Owie, owie, oh. Boink, boink, dooby-doo. You know what I want to do. Yay. Boink, boink, dooby-doo.
So,
you know what I want to do.
All right. So, yes, it does say butt stuff at the end of that song. That's not, okay. I'm not saying that that's JD's theme song. I'm just saying it could be in a world with less heaviness in it, where people are just allowed to be themselves. All right. All right. I'm pretending the whole beginning of the show was an anomaly, and we're gonna start there. Fingers crossed, we'll get through this swimmingly, and. So, hi chat room. There you are. Let's start. We're gonna start from scratch. Let's see if yay, there it is. Look at that. It's coming through. Excellent. Thanks. Butt stuff and soft sofas. It's very JD Vance. Absolutely. A little more cushion for the pushing. That's what, I mean, that's what couch sex is all about. And you know, we're not here to yuck anybody's yum. That's the one good thing about being a Democrat, baby. Sorry, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. You get to be who you are, man. Just as long as you're not hurting anybody else, and whatever you're doing with is consensual, and they're an adult, because it's kind of crucial when you're talking about the Trump crowd. So here's what I was saying before the world shut down, and welcome to the show and whatever. This will be a whole new show starting from scratch. We'll just begin as if. All right. I insist. I'm telling you. Don't make me. Don't make me. All right, so here we go. I think everybody around Trump and in MAGA world that works in the support structure around it, like in media, not the hosts of the show, but everybody behind the scenes hates Trump's guts. And this is my proof. Every time they choose a picture for a thumbnail, or every time they frame on him, I'm not saying every picture of him. I'm sorry. I should have put this up as well. There will be a bunch of nunt in these images, so consider yourself warned. Yeah, ick. But it seems like they are literally picking pictures based on making him look as scummy and scary as they possibly can. Like everywhere I look. Now, a couple of things. And speaking of scummy and scary, what the fuck is going on here? Maha Civil War is this is what we're using AI for. Okay, sure. Also, JD Vance is American preachiness is over. JD Vance, America is done telling other countries how to live. First of all, we don't do that, by the way, most of the time. I mean, these guys can't talk. That's why American preachiness is over, because they got nothing to preach about. These guys don't stand for what America stands for. So how the fuck would they preach about it? Of course, we can't castigate other countries for who their leaders are and the shit that they do when you've got this corrupt motherfucker running things and this dipshit venture capitalist, bringing up the rear. So this is I guess the end of American exceptionalism is what we're talking about. So let's grab a slice of this and we'll see.
We welcome to the program the Vice President of the United States and somebody who I think has a presidency in his future.
Yeah, of the Rotary Club or whatever.
JD Vance. Welcome to the program, Mr.
No, he doesn't. I'm just telling you. Nope.
President.
Glenn, how we doing?
I'm great. What an amazing few days the president has had. First, with all of the foreign wins before he left.
Oh yes, the foreign wins. Do you mean the deal to not make a deal?
With the wars, and everything that
the wars and everything.
State Department and Marco Rubio's doing, and now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think Glenn is still under the misapprehension that we had anything to do with the Indian-Pakistan ceasefire that lasted all of 4 fucking hours.
Oh, this speech, I think the Riyadh speech is historic.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, historically, most American presidents don't suck up to monarchical rulers that throw reporters into wood chippers and wish they could be them in front of the world in the most lazy, embarrassing, suck-up way possible. Yeah, it was historically shameful. Sure.
So many levels.
So many levels.
How would you describe what's going on in the Middle East this week?
That's not fair, because he can only describe it as absolutely positive. You know what I mean? It's like asking me to describe my show. I'm going to tell you, it's the greatest live stream in the history of live streams. And if you don't subscribe, there's nothing wrong with me. It has nothing to do with the quality of my show. It's what's up with you. That's your problem. I don't know why you don't want to do it. It's a personal failing that you're going to have to come to terms with at some point in your life.
Yeah, so I agree with you, Glenn, about that particular speech. I mean, when I listened to it, and I obviously knew a little bit about what the president was going to say.
A little. When you listen to it, what do you got? Is there a podcast of all of his speeches for you?
It changed a little bit, I would say, over the last couple of days. But the core message is very simple, that America wants not to remake the world in America's image. We don't.
No, our president wants to be like a sheikh with billions of dollars and an iron fist control over his population like Kim Jong-un. We're sick of telling other people that democracy's the way. We don't even believe that.
Force our allies to adopt our exact form of government.
We don't force our allies to adopt our exact form of government. Otherwise, their leaders would be stupid, doddering fake billionaires as well.
We actually want to be in the business of shared interest and shared economic cooperation. And so long.
Oh, so how about you try that in the Senate and in the House? No, sorry, that's a blood feud. My bad.
We're not trying to kill anybody. And so long as you're interested in building wealth for your citizens and working with America, then America's open for business. And I think that's.
Yeah, that first sentence, the whole, long as you don't want to kill anybody. The Qataris have been the conduit by which Hamas and the Houthis and Hezbollah have received most of their Iranian funds. The leaders of Hamas live in a fucking resort in Qatar. So maybe don't suck up to those people. I mean, you might even have a point about the Saudi royal family as it changes hands, that no change like that happens overnight. And so it's going to be a bumpy fucking ride going from what they used to be like to what they probably will be like in the future as the youngins come up and all that kind of stuff. And God knows we've been going through a similar such thing, but there's not going to be a pancake flip in Iran, for example. That's going to be ugly before it gets good, right?
Very important signal to send to the world. You know, the Obama administration economist Larry Summers had a very smart point a few years ago. He said, you know, when the Chinese show up in the developing world, they show up with a bag of money. When Americans show up in the developing world, they show up with a lecture. And if
Bullshit. Fuck you. No, we don't. We show up with a bigger bag of money and a lecture. When China shows up, they show up with a bag of money that you owe them plus the property or whatever that they were supposed to help you build. Also, depends on where you're showing up. If we're going to give you this money, you got to do something for it. You can't just, we're not going to give you this to fucking spend on murdering your enemy. That's not the point. This is for roads, right? Yeah, it's totally for roads. You sure? Yes. Okay. Chinese show up like, here, take this. Can you do those people that you were killing? Can you finish killing them so that we can build an airfield?
you know, given a choice between a lecture and a bag of money, you're going to choose the bag of money.
From the same people that shut down USAID, which was based on the bullshit that apparently all we do is drop money bombs on everybody.
Yep. Step of the way. I think what the president is saying is that era of American preachiness and American.
So what are we going to do? We're not going to lecture anybody anymore. We're going to be handing out bags of money. The fuck?
Telling other countries how to live their lives. That era.
And also not helping other countries live their lives.
Over. And I think it's a very important point for the Middle East. It's a very important point for the whole globe. And, you know, in some ways, only President Trump could have made that argument at this point in time.
Are we stopping with the bags of money too?
I think we're stopping with both. But
right. So what leverage do we have?
We are really looking at economic cooperation, you know, in Africa, for example.
Yes, in Africa, where they can cooperate with us. We can buy their natural resources and they can dig it out of the ground for slave wages and give it to us. That's cooperation, isn't it?
Well, Glenn, you have American diplomats sent by the Biden administration who are telling very conservative Christian African countries that they need to fly the LGBTQ flag,
right.
But they're not engaging in any economic arrangement where, you know, the Africans have critical minerals that we need. They have other industries that we could be participating in.
Right. So his problem is too much time, like when we're doing infrastructure loans and those kind of things through the IMF, which we are, the United States is the greatest contributor to the IMF. And that's where most of these African funds go through. So the bags of money that he's talking about don't come straight through the United States. They go through the IMF because there's a structure by which that money can be doubled and tripled by other countries kicking into it. And so there are standards by which you will get that money. But his problem is we're not pilfering these countries. His problem is roll in there, buy whatever they're selling, no matter how you get it out of the ground, or who fucking picks the cotton in the case of China, or who the fuck, you know, breaks their fingers digging cobalt out of the ground for electronics. Nobody gives a shit about that. We got the money, they got the stuff, pay for it, and don't give a shit. And so the LGBTQ flag that he's talking about is at embassies and federal buildings. And the idea that we have, this might shock people, women even working along with people in the LGBT community who work in our embassies overseas, and the growth of that social movement is healthy to their lives and safety while they're there. You know what? Fuck it. If they use, who gives a shit, JD, if they fucking kill kids, wait till their bodies stiffen from rigor mortis, bust their fucking skulls open and use their head as a shovel. As long as we get the cobalt, is what he's saying.
Could be partnering on, and I think that's the bags of money point. It's not that we're going to give them money, but that we could have some shared economic relations with a conservative African country where we wouldn't want to tell them how to live their lives. We would actually just want to enter into a partnership with them, and that's, again,
why would you want to enter in a partnership with them if there are other options The idea is there's 20 countries here that we can be in partnerships with. We would prefer, we only need to have deals with 5 of them. We'll do the ones where they're not throwing gay people off of fucking roofs. How about that? That's where you have the partnerships. So these guys can either make the deal or they can go, and change what, socially their structure, or at least attempt to move into modern human life in this millennia. Or we can take our money, our bag of money, someplace else. That's the lecture they're talking about. Jesus.
Big change. It's a big shift, but it's an important shift from a very dumb American foreign policy to a very smart one that I think is going to benefit this country for the next generation.
So what JD Vance, you had a horrible face. You have a horrible, horrible body odor, horrible bowel syndrome. Who gives a shit? What JD Vance is saying is that if there's a country out there, let's just say, that kills, lets Christians be rounded up and murdered. If they have rare earth minerals, we can look the other way. That's what he's saying. If our government's not killing them. The Rapid Strike Force is killing them. This other group over here is killing them, and we can't do anything about it. They're off in this corner fucking around. So if they kill if they round up a bunch of Yazidis or Christians or something like that, that's not our business really. Don't tell us that we have to go hunt these guys down or stop them. You want the minerals or not? And that's what JD Vance is saying. JD Vance is saying that economics are more important than the ideology of the United States or our own moral salvation. And that's why JD Vance is not a Christian at all. Not in the truest sense of the word, not in any sense of the word, and why he is part of the Peter Thiel eugenics movement, where the world is full of useless eaters, and if these fuckers are going to kill each other, just stand back, or if anything, you probably should just help them move it along faster, and then make a deal with the strong man in that, and then eventually, if you need more than he's willing to sell you, then fucking kill him. Hit him with an airstrike. That's what they're talking about.
TV show, as a game show when I was a kid, called the $20,000 Pyramid, and they would allow you.
Wasn't it 25? $25,000 pyramid, wasn't it? Like maybe you could go on like the $25,000 pyramid and make it like that way, maybe win it.
To say pass, and you could skip the subject of the question. I give you that. We're playing the $20,000 pyramid here.
Do you want to bring up Egypt while we're talking about this? Whoops, hold on a second. Just show the photos. God damn it. Yeah, here you go. Why is this? So it's 25,000. It's 25,000. It's always been 25,000. This isn't inflation. It was always 25,000, and it was not in the 60s when Glenn Beck was a child. Not at all. It's 25,000. It was 25. It's not the $20,000 pyramid. Maybe it was when he was a child. Maybe it was on the radio. You'd assume the pyramid.
I look at the reaction of your speech in Europe. Then I see the moves that they're making. I see the new...
Oh, you mean the ones where they redid that election in Romania and you got all pissed off about it because you were like, you shouldn't be telling people whether or not they should allow Russia to fuck around in their elections or not and redo their elections. That's just wrong. And shutting down speech just because it's a bunch of agents provocateur that Russia sent into your country in the middle of the night to pretend that they're your citizens and run around in fucking masks pretending that they actually live there and starting fires in the middle of a protest so that the protesters get shot. You shouldn't be doing anything about that. And what did Russia do? Fuck you. And fuck the AFD and fuck this new Romanian dickhead. It was fixed and we're remedying it.
Minister of Canada, who was the architect of the Glasgow Financial Accords. And I'm not sure that we're on the same page anymore.
Hey, asshole. You wrote a book called The Great Reset about the inevitable fall of the dollar and the U.S. and the market, and that the elites around the world were planning it. And you haven't yet put together that if indeed any of that was true, Donald Trump is a crucial part of that. What does he do with all those fucking unsold books? / all of them. Is that what we see every time they show like a bonfire graphic? Is he just burning copies of his own piece of shit book that turned out to be a bunch of blather?
We can be friends with everybody, but
No.
I'm not sure we're walking down the same path anymore with those countries.
You're right. We are not walking down the same path with Canada and Western Europe and the UK. Trump wants to walk down the path with Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin and MBS and fucking Kim Jong-un. Yes, it's a different path, asshole. Yes. And that's the problem.
Well, it worries me, Glenn, because look, there are certainly some economic benefits and friendships that we can have with a lot of our, sort of Western European and obviously our Canadian friends. But in Western Europe in particular, my view on this, Glenn.
In particular. So Eastern Europe's okay. Interesting distinction.
Our relationship with Western Europe is always going to be unique. America, of course, started as an English colony.
What? Where do you hear this? Nuh-uh. Okay, first of all, we didn't actually. This might be a whole thing about is Jesus the last Jew or the first Christian or that whole chicken and the egg moment that America doesn't begin until it ends the British colonies that were here, that literally America is the breakaway. So it didn't start, it started the second it started as no longer a colony. And so it started on the death of a British colony. How about that? We'll just leave it at that.
We're always going to have a special.
And so it started on the death of a British colony. How about that? We'll just leave it at that.
We're always going to have a special relationship with the United Kingdom.
Yeah, but not because of that, you motherfucker. We always miss home. Daddy.
38,000 troops. If we see Germans doing something that is incredibly offensive to America's values, I think Americans are going to recoil a little bit at that. And, I went to Germany very recently, very briefly, Glenn, just to, visit the troops.
Just to go to a downstairs bar someplace, some place that perhaps has, I don't know, zipper suits on rental. Welcome to Germany. Hello, JD Vance. So glad you could be here with us. And the nice thing about, German bars like this, we don't wear all the bright rainbow colors. We like the black, we like everyone wears small glasses. And then every so often, a man comes in and he goes, now, what shall we talk about?
And say hello. And
or say hello. I think that's the, yeah.
Hearing from Germans, even during that very brief visit on the ground, things that they were worried about free speech policies in their own country. Well, if we've got 38,000 troops there and we're living amongst the Germans, we're literally defending their country, I think you can expect Americans to at least express.
Okay, hang on. The base that we have in Germany is not there to help with German sovereign safety. This is not like Okinawa or fucking the base we have in South Korea, you asshole. Most of that place is a fucking hospital for the other shit that we do in the rest of the world. Like the vast majority of that base, its function, besides being a landing strip and a waypoint, yeah, Ramstein is there largely so we can fly in wounded soldiers. It's a NATO junction base, which he wants shut down. So let's be honest. What they're trying to do is, this is a build-up narrative. Like, Germany's not for free speech anymore, so what's NATO even about? We should get the fuck out of there. Right, Russia?
Some negative opinions about some of the free speech policies they're seeing in Europe. And Glenn, you know this as well as anybody. Things that start in Europe sometimes.
Also, U.S. service people are not supposed to be involved in politics, period. They're there to serve their purpose. But there's no way those rules would apply to any of our soldiers over there in their own internal communications or any of that stuff. If they decided to go on a fucking German radio show and be anti-gay or anti-woman or like anti-Semitic, you know, they would be in deep shit here, not just because fucking Germany doesn't like it.
Come over to America in the same way that things that start in America sometimes make their way to Europe. The kind of social media censorship that we've seen in West
We haven't seen any.
Europe, it will,
Yeah, no. They don't have rules like we do. We have free speech. They don't.
in some ways, already has made its way to the United States. That was the story of the Biden administration silencing people on social media. So,
by the way, that happened under Trump primarily, and they didn't silence people. Bullshit. The TOS violations are what get you silenced. Except now, by the way, now Elon Musk, maybe that's what he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about like that Elon Musk is jealous of the censorship that they get to do in Europe. So he's doing it himself. He's personally choosing who to censor. Just like he can apparently personally decide whether your car runs or not if you have a Tesla.
we're going to be very protective of American interests when it comes to things like social media regulation. We want to promote free speech. We don't want our European friends telling social media companies that they have to silence Christians or silence conservatives.
Right.
And
they're not. They don't. I mean, they have, those countries have those rules. And if those companies, those social media companies, want to do business in those fucking countries, then they got to play by their rules. Or those people could use a fucking VPN and pretend to be Americans and work around that firewall, or vote to change it in their own fucking country. But by the way, didn't this fucking, didn't this start off with America's done preaching to the rest of the world? And what he's saying is, if you don't have the same free speech rules, which is an ideology of the United States that I happen to support, but is unique to this fucking place, that if you don't participate in that, especially in terms of the level of offensive stuff, not in the support for other stuff, which you can kill all the DEI language in the government you want. But if you say it on social media and it's offensive in that regard, they have to do it in those countries, or what? We're going to remove our military base? That sounds exactly like what you're accusing the Biden administration of doing.
I think there is going to be that friction over the next 10 years. It's not that we're not friends,
Right.
but there are going to be some disagreements you didn't see 10 years.
Yes, there is. Like, for example, in Germany, they don't let you post swastikas online. I can't imagine why they're particularly sensitive about it, but, apparently it's a big deal, whatever. Whereas Elon Musk thinks there's not enough of those, swastikas, hook crosses on fucking Twitter, right? By the way, this isn't the end of American preachiness. This is simply a new version of it. He's just preaching filth. He's preaching authoritarianism, proto-fascism, and all that stuff. He's saying you should be forced to carry hate speech on your stuff because we don't police it over here. That's what he's saying. While, by the way, striking language about how people are allowed to address people, including pronouns in the fucking government, right? Free speech, except if you want to be called she, her, then that's a violation of my sense of reality. So therefore.
Yeah.
So, they have decided they're not going to pursue being a leader in AI, but they're going to make all the rules.
This, by the way, this is his fixation now, in case you don't know. There's like European rules on AI. And he talked about it on one of his other videos yesterday or the day before about rules that they're setting for what free speech can do. It's more like a treaty than anything else, but it's largely unenforceable. It's more like a driving document. But he's very fixated on the idea that somehow they're going to destroy AI by not allowing it to be used in Europe, which ultimately, it's not going to change how it is used in the United States. And if you access it when it's got a warning on the website that it can say whatever it wants or whatever, it doesn't apply to those rules. You can't establish your rules internally and then use someone else's tool. It's like saying a wrench can be used as a bludgeon, and we have outlawed all bludgeoning weapons, therefore you're not allowed to have a wrench. Instead of, if you buy a wrench and use it as a bludgeon, you are uniquely the problem. Instead of doing that, he's saying there's this like overarching thing. Well, ultimately, all that will mean is that they're all behind, like Europe will be behind in AI because of the governors that they will put onto the actual service, the same way China is. That's why China's AI systems are largely dead in the water as far as the educational aspects of it, the ability to for the public to use it, because it's going to have firewalls within it, just like the internet over there. So if not more draconian.
And are you that we are in a winning position here on AI? It is advancing so rapidly, and the things I hear that come out of China, it's either no, they're way behind. It's all a paper tiger, or they're way ahead. Where are we, do you think, on AI and AGI?
Well, I think that we're ahead, Glenn, but nobody who says that we're way ahead should be believed. In artificial intelligence, 6 months is a lifetime.
Yeah.
12 months is a generation. We're probably.
He does know that a lifetime is longer than a generation, right? Probably not.
12 months, maybe 2 years ahead of where the Chinese are when it comes to critical hardware, when it comes to the necessary infrastructure, when it comes to the engineering talent. But that is not very far ahead at all. And we're really going to have to invest a lot in developing America's next generation of scientists. Glenn, we're going to have to make sure that our hardware companies, that we stop regulating them to death, that our energy infrastructure, that we stop regulating it to death.
Yeah, neither of those things is happening, especially hardware companies. The fuck are you talking about? The only regulations that they actually have right now is you can't sell it to fucking China. What, honest to God, what the fuck? What regulations is he talking about? What's the big snag that Apple is having to come to the fucking Congress and going, hey, can you take the bit out of our mouth? We can't race as fast as we want to. You're holding us back on our development of fucking chips. Honest to God, what the fuck is he talking about?
Because if we allow the Chinese to catch up, we may never, ever have an edge on China in this space again. And I think a lot of people, artificial intelligence, it's a chat bot. It's something that maybe helps a college student write a paper. No. The artificial intelligence that I'm worried about, Glenn, is the kind of intelligence that helps them develop next generation weapons, that helps their rockets and missiles hit their target 99% more accurate than the weapons that aren't using artificial intelligence.
Yeah, but we already have that anyways. We already have that now. And they arguably have targeting and tracking systems. We've had targeting and tracking systems with an accuracy of like 85 feet from across the fucking world since the early 90s at the latest, if not before that. That's when we knew of it. So they probably had it in the mid 70s.
There are just massive defense technology implications of this. That it's kind of like, what would have happened.
Oh, dear. I don't know what he's going to say. I don't know what he's going to say right now, but it's going to be fucking stupid.
The English army had fought the Americans in the Revolutionary War, and we had M16s, and they had.
Yeah, you know what? I take it back. It's exactly like that. What a great analogy. Brilliant. God damn. If they had, imagine if in the Revolutionary War, if we had M16s and we were still trying to load muskets, it'd be like that. No, it wouldn't.
Of this, that it's kind of like.
Kind of.
What would have happened if English army had fought the Americans in the Revolutionary War and we had M16s and they had muskets?
Yeah.
We don't want to meet on a battlefield of the future and have.
Hold on. We still would have won. Wait. I thought he meant that the British had muskets. right? That would, yeah. We won anyways. We both had muskets and we still kicked their ass. I guess it would have been over sooner, right? Wait a minute. What the fuck?
The weapons that aren't using artificial intelligence. There are just massive defense technology implications of this, that it's kind of like, what would have happened if the English army had fought the Americans in the Revolutionary War and we had M16s and they had muskets? Yeah. We don't want to meet on a battlefield of the future and have, we have the muskets and the Chinese have the M16s.
Sure. Totally. Is this what they call bro science? Is this bro history? Jesus.
AI.
He's been watching the final countdown. Totally. We're leaving together. All right.
Critical part of staying ahead of the communist China.
But still it's farewell. Sorry, that's going to be stuck in my head. You said, it's the final countdown.
And it's something, look, we're very focused on. We've got a great guy in David Sachs of the administration who's leading this.
Jesus. No, we don't.
Effort, but it's full pedal to the metal, Glenn. We have to constantly be innovating and staying ahead of the game. We can't follow the European lead of regulating. We want America to innovate, and that's what we're going to keep doing.
I spoke to the president a couple of weeks ago, and he, I was going to ask him about nuclear energy, and he just volunteered. I said, what about energy with AI? And we went into saying, we're talking about making them their own utilities. They can build it. We're going to clear, even if they wanted to make nuclear power plants. That didn't.
Yeah, but he was primarily focusing on energy, on coal plants.
Print. I mean, I thought that was one of the bigger headlines of my lifetime, and nobody seemed to pick that up or care about that. And
that's because he bullshits so much. Nobody, and there's so many other problems he's created. Yes, Joey Tempest is awesome. And he did cause me trouble in high school, though, because my prom date was a very pretty girl who looked exactly like him. And it was awkward. Just saying. Although I will say it worked out kind of, because my next girlfriend after that I dated for a while, because my prom date wasn't really a girlfriend. We were set up just for prom, was named Carrie. So that works. When lights go down, I see no reason for you to cry. All right.
We do lose.
We've been through this before in every time. I mean, come on.
If we don't have these power plants, what are we doing to accelerate? I mean, they need 99% of our power by 2028. 99% of the power that's currently being made.
Yep. I guess everybody in the red state's got to die, Glenn. That's the only thing. But a bunch of people are using energy that we need to give to AI, and it's a bunch of these fucking trailer park assholes. So I guess Trump's right. They just all got to go. It's fine. We can build 30 nuclear plants in the next 3 years. Sure.
We need power plants.
Yeah, you're a smart guy, Glenn, because I don't know what else the president said during that interview, but I doubt it was as important as that point. Because
nothing.
This is
well, that I agree with. There was nothing in that interview. Yeah.
A critical issue.
I had that record on vinyl, too.
And you ask what we've done. We've had Lee Zeldin at the EPA and all of our environmental folks look at how we cut through the red tape and make it.
How we get rid of all this environmental protection agency bullshit.
Possible, because the market would do this, right? These companies would like to do this, but it's the environmental bureaucrats that have told.
Yeah, with all those, you know who I blame? It's all those fuckers downstream. You know what I mean? Because they don't want birth defects, so they don't want their kids to fucking glow in the dark. That's the issue. I blame them.
You can't really attach a power plant off grid to a pure artificial intelligence hardware facility. We're tearing down those regulations and making it possible again. And then, of course, Glenn, part of this is not just building these facilities, but is powering them with.
Well, because the legal issue is let's go beyond this. What's the legal right? What legal right do you have to have a power plant on your property? Once you allow that, it's not part of the electrical grid, but you can build your own. If somebody decides, hey, I live in fucking Wyoming, I can get access to a little bit of uranium. If I just dig around and find some, I can get a fucking lead suit off of eBay. I'll just dig up some of my own. I'll make my own fucking garage nuclear reactor to run as a power plant on my property. Right? What? And if you come in and you go, hey, you can't do that. Why not? They can. But that's a business. I give a shit. Their property, their power plant, my property, my power plant. Get fucked. Right? That's one of the other reasons, like, they don't want, nuclear classified as a renewable. It technically is, because it turns into something else. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't burn out. The waste becomes something else that you could technically use for other things, namely a nuclear weapon, which is why we chose the fuel that we chose back in the day, because it's part of the process to make a weapon. It doesn't go away, so therefore it is technically renewable, I guess. And isn't everything renewable on a infinite timeline? But the idea that you could build that on your property and counts as renewable energy. You're allowed to do solar, wind, nuclear, geothermal, hydropower, right? You can do that on your own. If you have a fucking creek in your backyard and you set up a bunch of fucking, like a little energy generator across it using the current of the stream, you're allowed to do that, right? Yes, some kid absolutely already did that. Hold on. One of the weirdest things, okay. Guy built personal nuclear reactor. So, yeah, there he is. David Hahn. There he was. Yeah. Except, okay. Let's scroll this down. It's 2008. Man makes nuclear reactor in garage. A 22-year-old man from Rockwall, Texas, attempted to build a small-scale nuclear power reactor in his garage. Representatives from the police, the FBI, and the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission removed equipment from the home at the request of the man's parents. The FBI said the criminal charges against the man will not be filed, as he had not actually done anything illegal. Because he didn't hook it up to anything yet. Was the thing. He was running like little devices off of it, but it would be able to power the house. Once he hooked it up to the house, that was when it'd be illegal. They didn't arrest him, but they were able to take his shit. Yeah. And he goes, here's this is the part where he goes, he claimed to have acquired uranium and that the background radiation at his home had doubled. Representatives from the Rockwall Police, Federal Bureau of Investigation, the U.S. Nuclear, removed equipment from the home at the request of the man's parents. He was found to have been experimenting with americium-241, which is used in smoke detectors, and natural uranium that he bought on eBay. Tests found no abnormal levels of radiation at the home. The man said, people do it at universities all the time. It's just not that usual that someone does it outside of a university, which is true. The FBI said that criminal charges against the man will not be filed. He didn't do anything illegal. The man commented, they're just doing their job. That's their job, to come and check on stuff like that. When they left, it had been deemed that, everything was within reason. He said he was not planning any similar experiments, adding, I think I'll keep it cool for a while. Well, guess what, buddy? You're up. Yeah. And that, by the way, there are plenty of people. That dude wasn't fucking, rich. Right? Imagine if he had, the backing of somebody like Peter Thiel. Right? Timu it's Timu uranium. That's Americanium.
The fuel that we need. And the president, you hear this term, all of the above. The president has really said we're in all of the above. We're reducing regulations on coal. We're empowering.
Wait, I should be up. Okay. Obviously, I'm being hit by the. Yep, I'm up on everything according to this. It says I'm on Twitch and I'm streaming. Is it because I'm talking about how to build a nuclear? I just mentioned the idea that you could make a nuclear reactor in your garage, and that's what shut me down?
natural gas flow.
It's yeah, that was 17 years ago, and imagine it was now. Now imagine it's same guy, a little less information, but he's got ChatGPT. Mm-hmm.
Petroleum, obviously nuclear.
What the fuck? Obviously, you could burn copies of Glenn's book.
Like, this is a president who said all power that we have, we need to put into this this prospect. And Glenn, one more important point on this. If you look
Oh, it's prospector. I see. That's why they threw it up there. Yeah.
chart of electricity generation, the People's Republic of China versus the United States. 20 years ago, we blew them out of the water. Right now, the PRC is producing about 3 times as much electricity as we are, and we flatlined over the last 20 years. That's innovation, that's development, that's got to...
No. That would simply be having light bulbs. That would simply be putting light bulbs in homes across China. The process of the last 25 years of just electrifying villages would explain that. The reason we flatlined is because until AI came along, we were producing enough energy to keep all of our lights on. The idea that there were like rolling blackouts in California, this bullshit that they keep telling is nonsense.
Glenn, we have got to be producing more power for the next wave of innovation. It's maybe the most important part of the puzzle.
So I did a show last night on
Yes, and we all caught it, where it was very exciting.
Just that a reset is coming. It's inevitable.
Oh my God, he's still trying to sell this bullshit book. Yes, it's inevitable that a reset is coming, and it will happen while Trump is president, and he's going to, yeah.
That a reset is coming, and we have to hurry, cut the budget, onshore, fix the tariff or the trade deficit, or we don't really have a chance of doing anything. And as I was looking at, we ran 3 different models through
Gibberish.
AI, and
We ran 3 different models through AI. You mean you described the problem 3 different ways?
all came back with the same stuff. And we're doing
because you were asking the same question with very little word variance, with the same, with the numbers being the same. Now I got to watch this stupid shit.
the president is doing those things, except for the cutting of the budget. I mean, Congress won't even pass the Doge cuts. When will the White House become...
Yeah, it's the Democrats, so I blame the Democrats. They won't even make those cuts. The Democrats, I blame the Democrats who are not in power and who are not responsible for freezing these cuts as they go through committee. Glenn is all up in AI. He is more than any other person. He talks about it because he uses it like mad over there. They are trying. They've been, him and Peanut Butter Dickhead are both, they're like, oh my God, I can fire so many people if I figure out how to use this quickly.
Strong on you.
Oh, asshole, by the way, for the record, Dickhead, listen to me. It's not even that they're not making the cuts, the Doge cuts. It's that the Doge cuts have been swamped by excess spending by Trump. He just promised the troops a raise, and a tax cut. So you're arguing with fucking Santa Claus, you fucking lunatic.
Must cut the spending.
Yeah, great question, Glenn. And I will.
That wasn't a question. It was a statement.
The big, beautiful bill text just came out last week. That's going to change a lot from now until then. We've already had
Well, then the text hasn't come out.
Conversations with House leadership that we want to see some more significant efforts to rein in spending here. The president also believes, Glenn,
and by here he means Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security.
And I think he's right about that if you cut the trade deficit or you raise revenue through tariffs, that you actually go a long way to making the country on a more sustainable fiscal pathway as well. But you're right, you can't do it without cutting domestic spending.
Right.
We're going to have to do it and get serious.
Yeah, that's why we're having our first $1 trillion Pentagon budget ever. Because they're setting an example for you and me.
About it.
I mean, I think
we're making that as clear to congressional leaders as possible. But look, I knock on wood here, but I think that once we get the final package out of the House and the Senate, we're going to have something that's serious on budget cutting. And there's one final point on this, Glenn. What no one talks enough about, and where when I talk to Elon, and I talk to the Doge folks,
Oh, dear.
Where they think they're going to get the most cuts is in taking people, illegal aliens, and other people who are defrauding the Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security system. Like, you think about two people, right? A guy who's paid into Social Security for 40 years. Obviously, we want that guy to get his Social Security benefits.
I don't care what you want. You are legally obligated to make sure that he does. I don't give a fuck what you like. I got news for you. I'm sure there are judges that have been with hookers who, when a prostitute is in front of them in court, has to apply the law to the fullest extent right there, even though under normal circumstances, he would be inclined to think of what she's doing as overall a plus. Or he. I don't want to be sexist about it. So maybe,
pair that person to an illegal alien who's engaged in Medicaid fraud. Obviously, we don't want that person to get their benefits. I think.
Right. And how many trillions of dollars do you think that is in our budget? But I'll give you a hint. It's in the area of zero. Yeah. Am I foul-mouthing peanut butter? No. Peanut Butter Dickhead is Patrick Bet David. He just has his PBD podcast, and I couldn't remember his name all the time. And so, to me, PB&J, PBD, Peanut Butter Dickhead, it just made sense.
Democrats are going to fight us on this, but this...
No, they're not. No, they're not. Democrats aren't going to fight you on making sure that people who are defrauding Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security are going to get benefits. Democrats are not fighting on that at all. No, they're not. Fuck off. The lies, garbage, idiocy. Our problem is that in the pursuit of this fucking Sasquatch of $1 trillion in fraud that you're going to somehow cut from the budget, that you're going to cut real people who really need it from the benefits that they have earned and deserve. That's our problem.
Such an important point. We cannot allow people to defraud the Medicare and
Yeah, no shit. That's why Obama passed a law that looks into Medicare and Medicaid fraud every fucking year. It's why Doge counted the funds that were recovered under that law, under that program, under that scrutiny as their own, as if they saved that money. It's like saying, imagine if somebody came in, a judge, and said, murder is now illegal. I'm going to make sure that people, who commit murder are, when they're found guilty, are going to go to jail. You're like, yeah, that's always been the law. And then pretending it isn't. Just like, no, I made it up. I'm just going to start doing that right now. And the other side wants murderers to go free. Why? Because they want a trial. Like, we don't need a trial for these folks. We know they're Look at him. Of course he's a murderer. Of course she's a murderer. Look at her. That's the argument here.
System, or it's going to bankrupt this country. It's also just fundamentally unfair. I don't want people who shouldn't even be here to be on the public dole.
Right. I know you're headed over to the...
What about the ones that work under the table and pay into Social Security using a fake Social Security number, never get those benefits, but are keeping the system afloat through their work and stuff, and then eventually get bounced out? Should we give them a check for all the Social Security that they did? Like, hey, here's a refund. You made this money, but you got to go. Or does that count as their fine? Or how about this? How about if they've lived here long enough and they paid into Social Security, but they weren't a citizen? You find out they've been living here for 10 years and they've been paying into Social Security this entire time. How about that's their fee to buy a fucking, a H-1B visa?
And you're going to be celebrating the inaugural Mass of Pope Leo this weekend, along with Senator Rubio, who's...
Don't go anywhere near him.
So Catholic. You had one of the last conversations with the last Pope.
Yes. So it was murder. All right. And again, I don't give a shit about the rest of this. By the way, hit the like, share the show, subscribe, etc.